Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pretty in Punk, the punk rock podcast. I am your host, Fiona, your girly girl guide to the world of punk and rock music. And we're in a different location today. And by different location, I literally just mean a different corner in my room. So if you've watched my podcast before on video, then you might know I am in a different spot. I wanted to try something new. Normally, I do record in the afternoon, but the sun is setting around like 4 p.m. where I live, and I hate it. And it's just not conducive to recording a podcast and filming on video. I do have a full-time job outside of Pretty and Punk. So, I don't really have time during the work week to film the podcast. So I thought that I would try a new location that works with my ring light and this lighting at this time of year. So we're going to try something new. And also, that corner of my room is filled with Christmas gifts and boxes that I have to wrap for people. So, there's a lot going on, but in the spirit of the end of the year and a new year coming, I thought that today's episode I would talk about some of my favorite releases of 2024. There have been a lot this year, and there have definitely been a lot that have been my personal favorites, so I want to share them with you today. But to start off, I do have a Song of the Week playlist, so each week I do feature a new song, either a song that I'm loving or a song that kind of goes with the theme of this week's episode. And since Spotify Wrapped did just come out about a week ago, I thought that I would share my top artist, and my top artist this year was Bad Nerves. And if you don't know who Bad Nerves are, they are a band from Essex, and they do describe themselves as power pop, but in all honesty, I can hear a lot of punk influences in there, and they were my top artist. I was obsessed, and they came out with an album this year that, hint, hint, we will be talking about later. And my top song of the year was from them, their song Baby Drummer. So I would love to feature that on my Song of the Week playlist this week, so you guys can listen to it, check it out. Definitely let me know what you think, and if you like it, let me know, please, because I love it. I think they are so good. They have a lot of like classic punk influences with just like the guitar tones that they have and the short song lengths, the fast strumming. So I can definitely hear a lot of those classic, especially like UK punk influences in there. So if you are into that, definitely check out Bad Nerves and check out their song Baby Drummer. You can find my Song of the Week playlist on Spotify. I'll have it linked below in the show notes or in the YouTube description, depending on where you are watching or listening. You can find it in there. And each week I do update it with the song that I feature, and I urge you to follow it so that way you can see when I update it each week. So that is just a little intro to start off the episode, to let you guys know my song of the week and my top Spotify artist. And if you are watching on YouTube, drop a comment below. Let me know who your top artist of the year was. If you use Spotify or even if you use Apple Music, just let me know. I would love to know who your top artist was. So without further ado, let's get into some of my favorite releases of this year. I'm kind of just gonna like talk from the heart with this one. A lot of the times with my more like history focused episodes, I do kind of go more into like facts and all of that, but we're just going to be talking from the heart. I'm going to be giving you my opinion and why I loved these albums and why they were some of my favorite releases this year. So the album that I want to start off with, and my favorite album of 2024, had to have been Cartoon Darkness by Amyl and the Sniffers. Oh my God, I've been playing this album on repeat. I think I've been listening to it every single day since its release, and it just came out in October, so only a couple of months ago, and I have been playing it nonstop. I'm obsessed with Amyl and the Sniffers right now. I actually have an episode on them. I did a whole episode about Australia's punk scene right now, and they are just like in the forefront of that scene. Oh my gosh, they are incredible. They are a four-piece band, and the front woman, Amy Taylor, she is incredible. She just has this really like electric, crazy energy on stage and off, and I adore her. I think she is the coolest. I think she has the coolest energy. She's so talented. She's a rock star. She really, really is. So as I said, Cartoon Darkness was released in October 25th of this year, and it is their third full-length album. If you have not listened to this album yet, you have to. I mean, from the jump, the opening song, if you haven't listened to it, I'm not going to say like what it is because I think you just need to check it out for yourself. It packs a punch from the second you start this album. I mean, it hits you right away, and that opening song just sets the tone for like the unapologetic energy on this entire album, and every single song just has that energy through and through. This band just has this like really raw punk attitude, and I am so here for it, and they are really keeping punk alive, not just in Australia, but worldwide. So I really love this album because it does take a lot of like those classic punk elements and a lot of the punk elements that I love, and it does it in a way that is so refreshing and new and unlike anything that I have heard before. I love it. This album is it's my favorite release of 2024, I think. I mean, Amy Taylor just she's like the perfect front woman. She's the whole package. She really is. She looks amazing when she's on stage. She has incredible energy that is just unmatched, and I mean, she just looks awesome. She has incredible outfits. I love everything she wears, and she just has these vocals that are just so raw, so in your face, and powerful, very powerful vocals. And she also has like this thick Australian accent that to me, like, it just wouldn't be the same without it. So I adore this album. It really has been my favorite. It's been nonstop for me. Every member of this band just stands out too. I think that they are all so talented. I love the bass lines from this band, especially too. I think they're really cool, and the bass definitely stands out to me, and the rhythm section as a whole. Of course, the guitars, everything stands out to me, but I've always picked up on the fact that they have these really cool, really intricate bass lines in their songs. So that is something that I definitely love about this band. So if I had to pick 3 songs off of this album, let me say though, this is definitely a no skips album for me. Usually too, I'm not one for slower songs, but even their songs that are on the slower side are really great. I mean, Big Dreams, that is on the slower side, but it like captivates you. I think just the riff and the beginning, and also like the dreamy kind of vocals, I love it. I love everything about this album, and I really urge you to check it out. If you have not listened to Amyl and the Sniffers, what are you doing? Seriously. I'm kidding. I'm not. If I had to pick a top 3 favorite songs off of this album, I think I would have to pick Doing in Me Head, Do It, and It's Mine. I think those would be my top 3, but they're so good. I also love Pigs. I love Motorbike Song. I love Going Somewhere. Oh my gosh. I love this whole album. Of all of the 2024 album releases, Cartoon Darkness by Amyl and the Sniffers is my favorite by far. So, if you have not listened to this album, I really urge you to check it out and listen to their whole discography. Seriously, you will fall in love from the first song that you hear. I promise you, Amyl and the Sniffers is the whole package. The next album, one of my favorite albums from 2024, was Still Nervous by Bad Nerves. And as I said, Bad Nerves was my top Spotify artist this year. So clearly, I was really into them this year, and especially into this album. So Still Nervous came out in May of this year, and it's their second full-length release. And again, as I said earlier, Bad Nerves really has that like classic punk, that UK classic punk feel. Even though, yes, they do describe themselves as power pop, I hear a lot of punk influences in there. But from a listener's perspective, they do also take a lot of inspiration from pop rock, alt rock. So they have it all going on in there. But I, of course, do hear a lot of punk influences in there. So that's what really drew me to them. I love that their songs are on the shorter side, the faster side, super fast strumming and tempos, and these like grittier guitar tones. So I'm super into it, and I'm super into them and their music right now. One thing I love about this album is that the songs really flow really well together. Like they all go together in a very cohesive way. I feel like any way that you could have placed this album, they all would have sounded great together. And I feel like you could have opened the album with a lot of different songs on this album as well. They do open the album with their song Don't Stop, which was released as a single, and that's why I found them. It came up recommended on Spotify, and I started playing it over and over. So that's how the album opens, and it's a great album opener, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they could have opened this album with a lot of other songs on here too, and it would have worked and it would have had like the same effect and the same energy when you open the album. The energy just stays consistent without, I mean, there isn't one song on this album that I would say has like a lull or a dip. I mean, there's a couple of songs that aren't as super fast, and there are no songs that I hate. There are songs that I like more than others on this album, but I wouldn't say that there's like a low point or a lull. I mean, sometimes I'll listen to an album and there's a few songs that I like skip in a row, like two or three in a row. I'm like, I don't really care for those. But if I'm like on a walk or something, I will just put this in and just listen to it all the way through. And I've been doing that since May when it first came out. So it makes sense that they are my top artist of the year. I'm really excited to see where this band goes as well because they are so new. I mean, their first full length album only came out in 2020. So they kind of have the world ahead of them. And I can't wait to see where they go. I mean, they were just on tour with the Hives, and I wish I saw them because I saw the Hives at See Here Now actually and really got into them after that. So it would have been really cool to see them together and see Bad Nerves open for them. And I hope that Bad Nerves does a headlining tour in the US because I really do want to see them. From what I've seen on Instagram and TikTok, it seems like they do have really, really great energy and stage presence. So, off of this album, my top three favorite songs, if I had to pick, would be Jimmy the Punk, Antidote, and Plastic Rebel. I think those would be my top three songs. So definitely check out this album and also check out their self-titled album Bad Nerves as well. That one was released in 2020. I love that album as well, and I can't pick a favorite of their two albums, honestly. I love them both and they both have very like similar but different vibes. I mean, you can definitely hear the growth in these two albums. Like, you can definitely hear a more mature sound on Still Nervous as opposed to Bad Nerves, but overall, they just stay really consistently great. So, I can't wait to see where they go from here. So, definitely check out Still Nervous by Bad Nerves. So, the next album, another one of my favorite releases this year. And this album, I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't think I was going to like, and that album is Saviors by Green Day. I went into it honestly thinking I'm not going to like this. This is not going to be good because if you didn't know, Green Day is one of my favorite bands, and they're what got me into music and got me into punk music. And I don't like a lot of their newer albums. I'm going to be honest. Yes, I am one of those people. I'm sorry to say. Like, I just really did not like Father of All at all. I maybe liked three songs off of the trilogy. I liked Revolution Radio, though. That is an exception. I did actually really like that album. But ever since Father of All, I was very nervous to hear Saviors, and I didn't know what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised, and that is why it is on my list of top albums of 2024. What I like about this album is that I don't think it's trying too hard. I think it's just, it was Green Day having fun, writing music together, and that's just what it feels like to me. But you can also still hear the maturity in their music as well. Like, even though, yes, you can tell that they're having fun with it, you can hear how mature and like how far they have come. One thing I love about this album, and honestly, one thing about Green Day that I think they are really, really good at and that they really excel with is harmonies. I mean, they always have so many vocal harmonies in a lot of their songs. And that's one thing that I've always noticed about them and that I think I really love about their music. I mean, they're just musicians through and through. So I love the use of harmonies on this album. And I also think Billy Joe's voice sounds really, really good on this album. I think he sounds great. So that is one thing I really, really love about this album. I think it's really well written, both musically and lyrically. I went into this album not expecting to like it, and I think that made it so much better because I was so pleasantly surprised. So I definitely want to know what you guys think. If you had the same reaction, if you went into it maybe thinking I'm not going to like this, or if you expected to like it, I would like to know what you thought, because I think I can admit one of my toxic traits is that if a band that I really, really love is releasing a new album, I'm always nervous to listen to it because I'm like, oh my God, what if I hate it? What if it's not good? But I really was so pleasantly surprised with Saviors by Green Day. I think it's a great album. I think it was really, really great. And it was, in my opinion, 10 times better than Father of All because I really didn't like that one, but I was so happy with this album. Again, I think there was a lot of great songwriting, both lyrically and musically. The harmonies were great. And I loved the tones of this album. I loved that there were some like heavier, grittier tones on this, but it also did have like some cleaner sounds in there. And I thought it was a great album. I'm very, very happy with it. I'm shocked that I liked it this much, honestly, which sounds sad because I love Green Day so much. But if you haven't checked this album out, you really should, because even if you aren't like a diehard Green Day fan like me, I think you'd like it. I think there's a song on here that everyone can enjoy. So definitely check it out. I mean, you can definitely hear like the punk roots in there, but it also does have like some modern rock sounds in there. So I think it's great. I think this album was really well done and I'm happy with it. I'm very pleased with it. So I think my top 3 songs on this album would have to be Bobby Socks, One Eyed Bastard, and Corvette Summer. I think those would have to be my top 3. I love the harmonies in Corvette Summer. I think that listen to that song and you'll know what I mean with the harmonies. And definitely on Bobby Socks, you can hear Billy Joe's vocals sound really, really great on that song, but on the whole album as well. So definitely give that a listen. And so, yes, surprisingly enough, Saviors by Green Day is in my top albums of 2024. Next up, another one of my favorite albums from 2024, Flight B741 by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I think this album is really cool, really different, and I mean, I think that way about every King Gizzard album. Every single one of their albums is just like, it feels like a new band, and that's what I love about them. I love that they're just so not afraid to try new things. And this album, I love it because I think it was a different sound for them, and I think it was also a different sound from any band that I've been hearing recently. It has this like bluesy rock kind of sound, even some like country rock kind of sounds, I would say. A lot of like 60s and 70s rock kind of vibes. So that's what I really like about it. I like that it's so different for them, and I like that it's so different than a lot of bands that I have been hearing recently. It was honestly a very refreshing album, and I love how cohesive it is. I like that the whole album has a very set like feel and tone to it, and I love it. I really, really love it. This album is just like a classic rock revival, I would say. So I really, really like this album. I'm here for it. And I also really like that this album, while it's not necessarily a concept album, it follows a lot of the same themes throughout and on each of the songs. And the album itself just, it flows perfectly, and all of the songs are just like perfectly fit together. So that is what I really love about it. I love the sound. I think it's just so refreshing and so interesting. And especially coming from King Gizzard, like anything they put out, that is how I feel about it. So I think my top 3 favorite songs, if I had to pick, would have to be Rats in the Sky, Daily Blues, and Lay Risk, or The Risk. However you want to say it. I dig this album. I think it's really interesting and really cool and different. So if that is something that you are in the market for, if you are looking to get into, definitely check out this album, especially if you are like a bluesy rock kind of person. I think you will really dig this album. And if you haven't checked out King Gizzard before, start with any one of their albums, really. This one in particular, I really, really dig it. So that is Flight B741 by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. So the last album, I'm doing a top 5, by the way. So this is the 5th one that I'm doing. And this is a band that I actually did get to see this year. So another one of my favorite 2024 releases is Surviving the Dream by Fidlar. And I'm going to be honest, the first time I listened to this album, I didn't like it. I did not like it. I wrote it off immediately. I was like, no, I do not like this album. And I changed my mind about it. So that is why I wanted to kind of end out the episode with this one, because I had a change of heart. I really, really did. I started listening to Fidlar in like 2015. So this was right when 2 came out. And I think I was always like, in my mind, I was like, that is Fidlar. That is what I think of when I think of Fidlar. I will always like their older stuff better. Girl, no. You can like their newer stuff too. It's okay. So I did not like this album, but I was going to see Fidlar. I saw them in October in Philly, and I went in being like, oh, okay, like I really hope they only play their older stuff because I don't like their newer album. But guess what? After I heard the newer songs live, I had such a new appreciation and love for them, and I really like them. So I gave the album another listen after the concert, and I really did have a change of heart. You know, I can admit that I was wrong, and I really do like this album. Their first two albums will always have like the most special place in my heart, but I really do like this album. I think it's really great. And I think seeing it live, I think I had to hear the songs live to fully appreciate them, if that makes sense. Like I had to hear them in that energy and see them in that light to really get the full appreciation for them, and that is what happened. And also too, like after I saw them live, then listening back to the songs, I then had like great memories as I was listening to the music, and I could kind of like picture myself there. So then I had like a memory to go along with the songs that I was listening to, so it gave me a whole new appreciation for it. So I think lesson learned, I need to stop being so like, oh no, it'll never be like their older albums. Like, yeah, no, a band's newer albums are not going to be like their older albums, but that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that. And new doesn't necessarily mean bad. So I need to stop being so like, no, I can only listen to their first album. That's my toxic trait. I'll admit it. It was another savior's moment. It was another, okay, I was wrong moment when it came to an album of this year. But I think my top three favorites from this would have to be Get Off My Wave, Down and Out, and maybe Nudge or Fix Me. I'm tossed up between those two, so we might do a top four. But yeah, I do really like that album. And Fidlar just has this very like clear sound. I mean, it's definitely their earlier stuff was very garagey DIY punk, but they do also have a lot of those like surf punk and surf rock elements. And you can definitely hear that in this album too, especially with songs like Get Off My Wave. So if you were into that, definitely check that out if you've never listened to them before. I will say, if you are looking for a new band to listen to and you want to get into Fidlar, start off with their first album, their self-titled album. It's so good. It's just so classic. Like, to me, I'll consider it a classic in my head. In my head, it's a classic. But I don't know why. I went into this album with a bad attitude, I guess. And I was like, no, I'm not going to like it. And convinced myself I didn't like it. But once I saw them live, I think also too, it was very like sentimental. I'd been waiting to see them live for years. I started listening to them when I was like 15 or 16, and I'm 24 now. So almost 10 years later, like 9 or 10 years later, I finally got to see them live. So it was a very like sentimental moment for me, finally getting to see one of my all-time favorite bands live. I was like second row from the stage. So I think that's why I had a new appreciation for it too, because it was such a special moment for me and such a big day for me was getting to see Fidlar. So I think that is why I have such a new appreciation for this album. So again, that is Surviving the Dream by Fidlar. I urge you to listen to all of these albums and check them out if you have not, or if you are like looking for a new band or a new album to get into. I definitely recommend these ones. I really hope that you discover something new from this, and if you've been looking for something new, that you check out one or more of these albums. So I want to hear from you. What was your favorite release of the year or releases? If you have more than one, definitely let me know. If it was one of these, of course, let me know, because I would love to talk about these albums with you guys. But I do, of course, love hearing from you and love hearing what you have to say about your favorite music, because this is a music podcast. So I love talking about music and yapping about it, obviously. So let me know in a comment below if you're watching on YouTube what your favorite release of 2024 was. And if you're listening to this on streaming, go to my most recent TikTok or Instagram Reel and let me know on there as well. You can just leave me a comment and let me know. And that being said, if you want to follow along on Instagram or TikTok, you can find me at Pretty in Punk Pod. I post a lot of short clips from various episodes as well as like fun graphics on there. I post stories. Sometimes I'll do like little Q&A stickers or polls on my Instagram. So be sure to follow me on there because I love interacting with fellow music lovers and especially fellow punk music lovers. And if you want to check out that Song of the Week playlist, I will have it linked below again in the show notes or the YouTube description. It's on Spotify. So if you don't use Spotify, you should get Spotify just to listen to that. I'm kidding. Don't. But if you do have Spotify, I would love if you could check it out because I have a lot of fun putting it together and picking my song of the week for each week. So again, that song of the week is Baby Drummer by Bad Nerves. Anyway, guys, I do post a new episode every Friday on all streaming platforms. So thank you so much for watching or listening, and I will see you in the next episode.